New Mexico Representative Melanie Stansbury is joining me now. She's a member of the House Oversight Committee and the DOGE subcommittee. And welcome back to the show. Good to have you. Do we actually know where these numbers come from? Do we have concrete evidence of actual cost cutting and that these numbers are accurately reflecting that?
Well, you really, I think, hit the nail on the head. Nobody knows what Elon Musk is doing exactly. There's a complete lack of transparency. And in fact, no one can corroborate his numbers. He has a serious math problem. And the only transparency that he's provided is putting receipts up on this fake Twitter account that he's put up. But, it's laughable, right? He shows up to this cabinet meeting and says that he's going to claim billions of dollars in savings. And all we know is that he has fired tens of thousands of American workers. We know he's dismantled agencies. He's canceled contracts. And all of that is actually held up in the courts right now because he didn't have the authority to do that. So no, there's no transparency, and it's very likely that many of these so-called savings won't come to happen because they weren't legal to begin with.
So we also know that Elon Musk is expected to leave the administration pretty soon as his status as a special government employee will expire. What do you know about when Musk will leave and then what happens to DOGE?
Well, we don't know the details, but I can tell you that I don't think any of us will miss him. And by the looks of it, it doesn't look like many in the administration will miss him as well, because as he's announced that he's leaving, and especially after his huge failure to buy an election in Wisconsin, I think the Republicans have realized that not only is he not an asset, he's an annoying liability for them and has caused constant chaos and destruction inside the federal government. And I'll tell you, many of my colleagues across the aisle also will not miss him as he leaves out the door. But it appears that he plans to leave within the next month. The formal end to his service as a special government employee ends in 48 days. If he does not leave in the allotted time, certainly there will be lawsuits because there is a set limit on how long you can serve. But none of us know what will happen to DOGE at that point. Many of the young people that were brought in as computer engineers and others for this effort were recruited by Musk himself and his allies. And because there wasn't a real theory of the case of how they were going to actually achieve any of their set out goals from the beginning, we don't know what's going to happen to the entire enterprise. And I think it's very clear that the administration's ready to move on, and they'll probably move the effort through OMB. And I think you can already see that this week with Russell Vought, the director of OMB, and OMB have released their passback guidance to agencies, and they're using that as a mechanism to cut the agencies now.
I remind our viewers as they listen to you on things you aren't aware of. You are on the DOGE subcommittee, and yet you're not aware of these kinds of things, being told that. Extraordinary. One thing that happened when you spoke on the House floor this week, you were railing against the recent and proposed cuts to the Department of Health and Human Services and Medicaid. Let's take a listen to part of that. Here it is.
Yesterday, I met with Rochelle Tittman, a mom of 4 who was diagnosed with cancer when she was 29 weeks pregnant 8 years ago. But by the grace of God, her family, and the medical advancements made possible by the HHS, by the National Institutes of Health, by the CDC, she is here today, and her youngest daughter, Ray, is in the 2nd grade. These are the people we are fighting for. This is why we are fighting back, and this is why we oppose this cruel agenda.
So look, Republicans have made numerous claims they will not cut Medicaid, but what does this new budget framework tell you?
Yeah, the Republicans themselves are infighting. It took them days and days this week to even pass a basic framework for the reconciliation bill, which is the centerpiece of Donald Trump's agenda. And that centerpiece is all about giving permanent tax breaks to his billionaire buddies and to large corporations. And to offset the costs, they're looking for quote unquote savings somewhere. And those savings are coming in the form of $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid. Republicans keep claiming, oh, we're not cutting Medicaid, but it's very clearly in the framework. It instructs the committee that has oversight over our health agencies to cut health funding by that much. So we know that that's their agenda. And part of why Republicans melted down before they passed the framework in the House this week is that the House Republicans said they were not going to vote for the bill unless they guaranteed that they were going to make those cuts. So anyone who claims that they're not cutting Medicaid is lying. Secondly, we already know that RFK is destroying the Health and Human Services Department. They cut and announced that they were going to cut over 10,000 jobs, and they have already cut 3,500 employees at the Food and Drug Administration. These are agencies that guarantee the basic health of everything that we use, from our cosmetics to our food to the medicines that our family members take. And they're absolutely decimating these agencies.
I want to pick up on that because you clashed with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene at a hearing on restoring trust in the FDA. Let's take a listen to a piece of that.
The ability to get life-saving drugs to market, the ability to save American lives, the ability to get
the gentlelady's time has expired. Ms. Stansbury, the gentlelady's time has expired. No, you're lying to the American people.
I'm sorry, madam.
You are lying to the American
people need to understand their health is at risk, and this is a five-alarm emergency.
So you made a supreme effort to get your point across. Why? What was important about it? And what is your response to Representative Greene saying that you're lying?
Yeah, you know, one of the things that a lot of people may not be paying attention to is the mass firings that are happening at the Food and Drug Administration. And FDA is the agency that makes sure that our food and medicine is safe and that you're not taking snake oil that's going to kill you. And over the last week and a half or so, 3,500 employees have basically been given pink slips and told they're fired. These are some of the top scientists and medical professionals in the world. And the pharmaceutical companies are in a complete uproar. In fact, their stocks tanked the day after these announcements were made because their entire timelines and the ability to get life-saving drugs depend on having a functional agency. Now, they should be in front of the White House right now saying, you know, what the hell are you doing? Because this is going to endanger the American people as well as the ability to get things to market. But they're afraid that if they raise their voices, that they're going to get knocked down around drug pricing and other things that they care about. And so that's why you're not hearing a lot of noise in the public sphere about it. But people in the medical field are completely freaked out right now. In fact, last week, Dr. Peter Marks was forced out of the administration, and he's arguably one of the top vaccinologists in the entire world. He was the person who led on warp speed that brought the COVID vaccine to the United States that saved thousands of lives. And in his resignation letter, this is so unusual, he published it publicly and said that he was essentially being forced out because it was clear that the FDA and HHS no longer cared about facts and medicine. They wanted fealty and subservience to lies. So that's what's happening. It will endanger the American people. And so we really want people to understand what's happening, and people need to be speaking up and fighting back. Now, obviously, my colleague across the aisle has made a career out of spinning exaggerated stories and creating viral moments, but this is not a joke. This is about saving American lives. And so my response is people need to understand, speak up, speak loud, and continue to push back.
Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, got an open invitation. Come on back and see us again soon. Thank you so much.